I was knee-deep in the north pasture that crisp October morning, mending a loose fence post under a sky still bruised with dawn's early light when the smoke caught my eye. It billowed up from the eastern boundary, not the wispy gray haze of a distant brush fire or the acrid black plume from burning rubber, but a thick, rolling column laced with brown, the unmistakable signature of dry hay igniting. My gut twisted before my brain fully registered it. That was my winter stockpile, 340 bales of premium second-cut Timothy hay, stacked neat and tight under the shelter, worth every penny of $31,000, and the sole barrier between my cattle herd thriving through Idaho's brutal winters or starving thin. I dropped the tools, fired up the old Ford truck, and barreled down the rutted ranch road, tires kicking gravel like shotgun blasts. By 7:44 a.m., I skidded to a halt at the fence line, camera in hand, before I even killed the engine. The shelter was a roaring inferno, flames licking up the posts and devouring the bales from the bottom up. Two men in faded coveralls lounged against the boundary fence on the other side, arms crossed, one clutching a clipboard like it was his Bible. They weren't lifting a finger to fight the blaze, just watching it consume my livelihood. Behind them sat a white pickup with magnetic signs slapped on the doors. Hail, Remediation Services, Licensed Contractor, General Cleanup. I snapped photos methodically. The engulfing fire, the men's impassive faces, the truck's plates, the company logo. Then dialed 911 with steady hands, reported the arson for hire, called my attorney Evelyn Reed to start the legal wheels turning, and rang my old colleague Ted at the County Water Board for one critical confirmation. As the sirens wailed in the distance, I knew this wasn't just a loss. It was the opening salvo in a war I hadn't started, but one I'd finish on my terms, with the quiet force of documented facts and a pond full of pent-up water. The Brooks Ranch has been in our blood since 1961, when my father Elias scraped together every dime from his logging days to buy these 340 acres in the shadow of Idaho's rugged Bitterroot Mountains. It's honest land, lush valley flats for haying, slope pastures for grazing cattle, and a fickle seasonal creek that snakes through the southern edge, swelling with spring snowmelt and trickling dry by late summer. Dad built the Operation Brick by Patient Brick, a second pasture rotation in '68, expanded hay fields in '74, the equipment barn in '79, the calving shed in '83. By '88, with me, Harlan Brooks, back from agricultural engineering school after a stint at a county water firm, he pulled me aside one evening on the porch, cigar smoke curling in the twilight, and said, "Son, I've got a project that's been brewing in my head for years. Time we dam that creek and make ourselves a pond." I surveyed the slope myself, pinpointed the natural basin, crunched the numbers. For 0.2 acres at full pool, 18 feet max depth at the dam face, a sturdy concrete spillway with a gated release to handle everything from daily irrigation dribbles to a 100-year flood. We filed the plans in March '88, got permit WA 1988-447 approved by June. It granted us absolute control. No fuss, just annual reports and 48 hours advance notice to the State Water Authority for any full discharge maintenance flush. No obligation to notify adjacent owners, downstream folks, or nosy HOAs. Dad and I built the dam that summer, hired pros for the spillway, and by October, it was filling. Come spring '89, that pond was our lifeline, smoothing out the creek's erratic flow into reliable irrigation through August. I've managed it 36 years now, knowing its every mood. The rapid spring fill, the lazy summer evaporation, the deliberate autumn drawdown before frost locks it in. 11 full discharges in all that time, each logged meticulously, permit spotless. No lapses, no citations, just quiet compliance. Fast forward to 2003, and change crept in from the east like a slow-moving storm. Riverside Meadows broke ground on the plateau. 190 cookie-cutter homes carved for what used to be prime AG land, their western edge butting right up against my fence. I watched from afar as their crews reshaped the old drainage corridor along our shared boundary, widening banks, grading slopes, pouring concrete channels of the north end. Not a single call, or courtesy visit from the developers or county planners. Curious, I rang the planning office that June afternoon, sweat beading under my hat after a long day in the fields. The clerk droned on about their stormwater management zone, how the engineer's hydraulic analysis covered it all based on standard upstream discharge assumptions for my register permit. I pressed. Did they factor in my pond's full operational range? Controlled release only, he said, like it was gospel. I thanked him, hung up, and jotted it in my leather-bound logbook. Date, name, details, then underlined my own note. Corridor capacity. Controlled release assumption, 2.4 CFS. Full discharge, 7.8 CFS. Unconfirmed. For future reference, the development filled fast. By 05, families moved in, HOA formed, clubhouse buzzing. From my eastern fence, I could hear lawnmowers on still days, see rooftops glinting in the sun. It didn't bother me. Live and let live, as long as my control releases kept trickling harmlessly down their corridor. For 18 years, harmony held, fragile as glass. Then came the first letter from Marjorie Hale, Riverside Meadows HOA president, landing in my mailbox like an unwelcome guest on a Tuesday in mid-September. I read it over black coffee at the kitchen table, the kind of sturdy oak slab that's seen decades of ranch decisions. On crisp letterhead with their fancy logo, it informed me my Eastern Hayes shelter violated their view corridor easement standards and demanded removal within 30 days. Unsightly agricultural structure, it sniffed, incompatible with community aesthetics. I erected that shelter in 2001. Open-sided, roof on posts, standard for hay storage, 12 feet inside my deeded line, on land unencumbered since Dad's purchase. Those 340 bales under it were my herd's winter salvation, the fruit of August harvest, representing not just cash but survival. I reread the letter, noting the smug certainty in view corridor easement, like it was etched in county stone. Logbook entry, September 19th. HOA letter from Marjorie Hale. Claims view easement violation. Shelter removal requested. No basis cited. Retained for file. Then I drove to the county recorder's office, spent an hour at the terminal pulling deeds, plats, CC, and RS. Zip. No easement, no aesthetic covenants bleeding onto my parcels. I photographed the clean deed pages, the development index listing every instrument but that phantom easement, and drove home calmer. Added to the log. Recorder visit 10 to 11:15 a.m. deed clear. No encumbrances. No view easement in records. Called my son Silas that evening. He chuckled darkly. Sounds like bluffing. Document everything, Dad. I assured him I would. The rancher's creed. Patience and paper trail. Marjorie wasn't one to back down. She clawed her way to HOA president 6 years prior, unopposed in a community where board service felt more chore than crown. She revamped their violation process, boasting a 91% compliance rate in newsletters, turning minor gripes into formal crusades. My shelter, visible from their western walking path, irked her enough for a second letter in late October. Escalated to numbered paragraphs, stamped with the board seal, declaring a formal violation and invoking contractor remediation if not gone in 15 days. Still no legal citation, just threats to bill me for their intrusion. I photographed it, filed it beside the first logged October 21st. Second letter. Remediation threat. No easement proof. File open. My response was concise. Received your notices. County records show no easement. Shelter stays. Attachments enclosed. Sent certified mail. Copied Evelyn Reed with a note. File this. We'll need it. Evelyn, a sharp property rights lawyer with 18 years in Idaho's ranch districts, called back confirming. HOA jurisdiction ends at their deeds. This is bluff. But if contractors show, document, and call me instantly. I'll log her advice. Check the shelter daily. The bale's dry and ready. Pond at 92% full after a rainy fall. The arson hit like a thunderclap. From a north pasture smoke sighting to fence line arrival. For minutes of controlled fury. Photos captured the blaze's base-up pattern. Investigator later called it accelerant-driven. and the Hale contractor's casual stance, as if torching a neighbor's property was routine cleanup. They peeled out before fire crews arrived. I noted their exit at 8:03. Suppression took 40 minutes. By 9 a.m., ashes and charred posts remained. Investigators prelim. Origin consistent with accelerant at Hay Base. Rules out spontaneous or electrical. Evelyn had the suit drafted by Friday, pulling the full '03 development file. Corridor rated for 2.4 CFS max, my controlled rate. Full discharge, 7.8 CFS, a 3.25x overload. Your permit allows it, she said. 48 hours to the state only. Pond at 94%, maintenance overdue. I filed the Notice Monday post suit for Wednesday, 7 a.m. Silas arrived Tuesday eve, maps in tow. We inspected the pond under flashlights, him calculating flows. That corridor's banks will breach at the low spots, Marjorie's yard included. Dawn Wednesday, I cranked the gate open. 12 turns, water building from trickle to roar. By 9, corridor swelling. 10:30, overtopping at sediment bars. Noon, 18 inches in western tier yards. Victor Hale stared dumbfounded at his flooded patio, dialing emergencies. County traced it to my permit. Legal, unassailable. HOA, chaos ensued. 41 calls. Emergency meet where Beatrice exposed Marjorie's ignored warning email from years back. Not our jurisdiction, it mocked. Marjorie resigned Thursday, defeated. Beatrice negotiated Friday. Full settlement. We got $47,000 for losses, easement myth buried in records, Hale, services blacklisted, and a stormwater pact. Controlled releases for annual fees, my full discharge rights intact. Signed it all, reordered hay, rebuilt the shelter. Ranch rolls on, pond serene at winter level. Folks, what hits you about tales of ordinary people facing down injustice like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was the flood a step too far, or fair payback for the fiery destruction? Stand your ground. Share how you'd handle violence and unfairness in your own life.